Y'all hear about Big Country and Big Fred, man? They say it's going down, man. Country, he was messing with Elise, right? Well, Elise done left him and started messing with Big Fred. Big Country, man, he's subject to kill Big Fred over Elise, man. Big Fred better watch his back, man. I'm telling you. Big Country and Big Fred went to sell and fought. Big Country fought hard, but at the end of the day, Big Fred was just too big for him, man. Y'all hear Big Country's coming with that blade, man. He done lost Elise and a fight to Big Fred. Man, Big Fred better watch his back, man. Big Country's definitely coming with that blade. Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kids TV and the House Like Kitchen Sinks. You know, oftentimes in prison, when there's a prison issue, when there's a prison beef, misunderstanding or what have you, once it's up, it's typically stuck. Now, what I mean by that is, once it's on, it's on. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be any, shaking hands and we just go about our merry way. Every once in a while, that may happen. But the majority of the time, it's just not going down like that. This particular story was about 2 individuals. You got Big Fred and you got Big Country. Now, Big Fred, he was actually convicted of messing with an underage girl. He was messing with the young lady. Actually, he was messing with the mother. So the mother was his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, and he started to mess with the daughter. So, allegedly. So, he was messing with the daughter. The mother found out about the situation. It kind of got corrected. Nothing was ever, turned in, or, she continued to be with this guy. Big Fred ended up leaving the mother and dating the daughter. How ironic is that? So once that happened, she went and turned him in to the police and told that, that he had been messing around with her, for several years or what have you, because at this point she was over 18. But initially when he, started messing with her or what have you, she was just under 18. I think she was like 17 years old. And in the state of Kentucky, I believe they at least have to be 18. So Big Fred ends up, he gets arrested. He's fighting the case. He's going back and, forth to court or what have you. He really wants to take this case to trial, but the only problem is he has a prior record. And being that he has a prior record, he definitely can't get on the stands and tell his side of the story and tell exactly what happened, which I don't even know exactly what side of the story he possibly could have told. You know what I mean? But he decides to take a plea deal. He takes a plea deal. I believe he gets, 10, 11 years, somewhere right around in that range. And of course, you're not going to get probation for a sex offense. And he gets sent to prison. Now you got Big Country. I'm not sure exactly why Big Country was in prison. He was from one of the smaller towns in Kentucky. Big Country was one of those guys, man. He was kind of quiet, reserved. Probably about 6'1", maybe 210, 215. Just country strong, man. Black guy, had a beard, low haircut or what have you. He was probably, I want to say Big Country at the time had to have been about 40 at this particular time. So, Big Country, he's in the pen. Big Fred's in the pen. They don't know each other. However, it's going to be one common denominator that will bring the two of them together, if you will. The thing about Big Country was he was one of those guys to where he worked on maintenance. He could fix everything. So he was really a priority inmate. A priority inmate basically means that you don't have to worry about getting transferred or anything like that because they need you on the yard. So dude would drive a backhoe. He could fix the plumbing. He could work on carpentry, electrician. Like, he was just really a handyman around the prison. And so they would keep him what's called a special projects. Now, special projects means that you get paid, like, I want to say $2 an hour. And in prison, that's great because you'll be lucky to make $40 a month in prison. But if you're on special projects and you're making $2 an hour, and oftentimes they get paid for overtime just as well, that money starts to add up. So Big Country, he's $300 a month, man. He's living good in prison. Then you got Big Fred. He works in the kitchen. And everybody liked Big Fred, despite him being convicted of a sex offense. And that's typically, it doesn't go that way in prison, but people like Big Fred. And he refused to take the sex offender classes, because what they do is in Kentucky, they'll keep you over here, right? Like the sex offender, they're in a program that they have to take. So they'll be separate from everybody else on the yard. It's like they have their own dorm. And typically, if they're in the program, if you lay hands on one of them, you do something to one of them, guess what? They're going to charge you with a hate crime, or they could potentially charge you with a hate crime. As ironic and weird as that seems, they're very well protected in prison. I don't know, man. Don't shoot the messenger. So these two individuals, they're living their separate lives or what have you. And the common denominator that brings them together is Elise. Now, I don't like referring to Elise as Elise, but Elise, that's the name that Elise went by on the yard. I never had to speak with Elise, so I never had to, hey, Elise, let me holler at you. I never had to do anything like that. Elise was a transgender. Actually, Elise was an actual man, but was, what do you call it? I guess converting over on the streets to be, a transgender, what have you. And Elise ended up catching the case or what have you, boosting or something like that, and ended up coming to prison. So it was just one of those things to where, now, when I arrived to the prison, everyone was already there. They had already been there for, quite some time. So when I got there, I quickly found out, who was who, what was going on or what have you. Elise had been in a relationship with Big Country. They had been kicking it for some time, and Big Country was just a little bit too possessive, so I hear, for Elise. Didn't want Elise to go out on the yard without him. Didn't want Elise to go to the chow hall without him. Didn't want Elise talking to nobody else. Didn't want Elise doing anything but being up under him. And anytime Elise attempted to just have other friends or just mingle, or it was a problem. So Elise grew tired of that, and she grew away, or Elise grew away rather, from Big Country. She grew away from Big Country. Somehow, Big Fred slid in, if it makes any sense. So now Elise was interested in Big Fred. So they messing around, talking or what have you. But the thing about Big Fred, he wasn't open like Big Country was. See, Big Country, it was open. It was, it's just who I am. It's what it is, man. You know what I mean? Elise is me. It's just me. Big Country, Big Fred, he was kind of like, meet me here, meet me at this blind spot, or meet me over here. He didn't want everybody to know. So as time goes on, more and more people start to pick up on it. It's just one of those things as a prison. You really can't hide anything that you do in prison for a significant amount of time. You might be able to get away with it, a couple times or what have you. But after so many times, like, people are going to start to pick up on it. So now the word's going around on the yard or whatever about Big Fred and Elise. Country catches wind of that. Big Country did not like that whatsoever. After all, he was still trying to win Elise's love back, to say the least. Elise was done. Wanted no more dealings with Big Country. Elise was really feeling Big Fred. Big Fred was he was a funny dude, man. Charismatic dude, man. He'd make you laugh or whatever. And like I said, he worked at he worked in the kitchen. So one particular day, Big Country comes through the line. Now, when he comes through the line, typically Big Country didn't really even eat in the chow hall. He made so much money on the yard, on his state pay, because like in prison, you get paid once a month. That's called your state pay. As I mentioned, he worked on a special project, so he would make $200, $300, $400 a month. Probably more, to be honest, because he worked so much overtime and he was always on call. So he never even had to go to the chow hall. Well, this particular day, it was chicken day. I guess Big Country wanted some chicken, because there's certain days that people will go to the chow hall that typically don't. Chicken days, burger days, pizza days. Let's see, taco days, taco salads, things like that. People sometimes will come to the chow hall. Comes through the line. Big Fred serves him. Puts the piece of chicken on his tray. Big Country wasn't feeling that. What's up with this piece of chicken, man? Fred's like, what do you mean, what's up with this piece of chicken? I noticed you give out your homeboys the big pieces, but you give me the small piece of chicken. Big Fred's like, look, man, this is the chicken that, reached in there, I grabbed the chicken, man. This is the chicken I gave you. Big Country say, nah, man, I need another piece of chicken, man. I need a bigger piece of chicken. Man, I ain't no bigger pieces of chicken, bro. This is what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. Now, it wasn't really even about the chicken. As I mentioned, Big Country, he still wanted to win Elise's love back. So he didn't heard about Elise and Big Fred. So he really has a problem with Big Fred. Now, Big Fred is called Big Fred, or was named Big Fred for a reason. They're about the same height, 6'1". Big Fred, though, he got to be close to 300 pounds. Maybe about 270. I say about 270. But he got a big old stomach. You see what I'm saying? Like, he don't really work out or anything like that. He's just a naturally big dude. So he got a problem with Big Fred because of Elise. He done heard about what everybody else has heard about on the yard. So these quiet rumblings go on, for the next couple weeks or so. And, one word is exchanged, the next word is exchanged, a couple looks or what have you. So finally, Big Fred say, look, man, forget all this, man. Forget all the, you want me? You want to see me? Big Country's like, yeah, I definitely want to see you. I definitely want to see you. Okay, so they arrange it. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know why, because like I said, in prison, there's blind spots. There's all type of different areas to where this could go down. They decided to take it to the cell. Yeah, they're going to go in the cell. They're going to move some furniture around. Now, I can see going in the cell. Me, myself, I'm not really a dude that wants to be in a cell, because it's so closed in or whatever. Cell's about the size of your bathroom. Instead of your tub, that's your bed. So I don't really, prefer to be in a cell. But if it got to go down, it got to go down. In their particular case, that was a location that they chose. Now and again, Country, they're about the same height. Big Country's probably no more than 220. 225 at the very most, and I don't even know about that. But he's cut up, he's in shape, Country strong, like I said, works out a little bit. Most of his just natural strength. He's lifting engines and transmissions and things of that nature. Just a big strong country dude or whatever. Well, you got Big Fred over here at probably about 270, and them going into a little bitty cell like that is not going to bode well. So I would guess that, man, Big Country got to have a knife. He got to have some sort of weapon, because why would he agree to go in a cell with this individual and he's outweighed by probably a good 50 pounds? I guess he feel confident in his skills. They end up meeting up. They go in the cell. Like I said, they move some furniture around. Big Country touched everything in the cell, which means he got touched up. Big Fred made him touch everything in that cell. Big Country fought hard. May have even won if it wasn't for the fact that they were in this small, closed-in space. But when it was all said and done, he took a L that day. Come out of the cell. Big Country, he's roughed up or whatever. Big Fred, he got a couple marks or whatever. You could tell Country got some good licks in on him, but he was just too much for him. Well, you would think that would possibly be the end of that. But being that we're in prison, it's not going to just go down like that. Now, sometimes I have seen situations where dudes fought, they got it over with, and it was just over with. But in this particular instance, it wasn't going down like that, because Elise still didn't want Big Country, but Big Country still wanted Elise. Now it's coming out more and more about Big Fred and Elise. So it's one of those things to where it's not as hidden anymore. I guess Big Country say it is what it is. So now they're seen together on the yard, walking the loop. In prison, you got a loop that pretty much goes around like the inner part of the prison. And that's where you'll see inmates at all throughout the day, especially once the sun goes down. Just walking that loop, man. Just talking, kicking it, kicking the willy bobo, man. Kicking the willy bobo means just kicking the shit, just talking, man. You know what I mean? Talking about any and everything. What's going on the streets? What you gonna do when you get out? What was you doing, before you came in? I wonder what my girl's doing. My girl ain't calling me. I miss my kids. Just anything that you could possibly imagine is talked about on the loop. So, excuse me. Time goes on or what have you, and the tension really, really begins to build. Elise walking the yard, Big Fred, they seen together. They sitting at the table together, what have you. And Country got to the point to where he wasn't dealing with that no more. Big Country got to the point to where he said, you know what? It's either me or him. Word started to spread, man. He was going to stab Big Fred. Now, it was much easier for him to get his hands on a knife, on a weapon, because as I mentioned, he worked in maintenance. So he was around all the tools. This guy was very, very handy. It was nothing for him to make his own knife. Word got back to Big Fred. Big Fred, made a couple. I was going to say Big Fred made a couple calls, but he talked to a couple people, and he got himself some protection. So it was supposed to go down. It was really going to be a real live, I don't necessarily want to say a knife fight, but in a sense it would be, because it's whoever gets who first. You got a knife, I get a knife. Let's see what happens. May the best man win. That lingered on for, a couple weeks or what have you. And it was always one of those things where when you own a yard, you had to really watch your surroundings. You have to do that anyway, but especially when you're dealing with a situation where two individuals kind of want to take each other out. Now, Big Fred really didn't want to take Big Country out. He didn't even have a problem with Big Country for real. It was just one of those things where Big Country was always saying little stuff or was getting back to Big Fred, and he was just like, okay, well, shoot, it is what it is. I got to protect myself, but I really ain't got nothing, against the guy. Think about prison, man. When you're dealing with, in this particular situation, when you're dealing with the Elises, because we are on YouTube, so I got to really watch what I say. When you're dealing with the Elises in prison, that's one of those things that not only can it go left really quickly, it will go left really quickly. You'll really see some real live relationships in prison. Moving in my cell. No. You moving in the cell with me. And you going to be in here with me every day. And it's just like, you never want to get caught up messing with anyone's, in prison, they say, my wife. I've heard people say that anyway. Mess with my wife, man. Off limits. As crazy as it may sound, man, it's not how do I want to put it? It's kind of normal to see that in prison. Now, your majority of the people that's locked up don't get down like that. Fleece Johnson once told a story and said that he believes that 85% of the yard gets down like that. I don't think it's nowhere near that. I don't have any proof of that, but I would have to respectfully disagree with that, because I know a lot of solid dudes in prison, man, that they wasn't getting down like that, man. Because the cream is always gonna, rise to the top. No pun intended. Matter of fact, pause. Let me pause that. But if you getting down like that, eventually it's gonna come out. Just like I said with Big Fred, initially, it was kind of one of those things, they hooked up every once in a while, and then it happened a couple times, and then people start to see it, and then they start to see it more. So now it's just like, shoot, we walk in the loop together, we walk in the yard together. Just was what it was. But he was caught in a situation where his life was really, really in danger, because you got this crazy SOB Big Country over here, which is typically, like I said, a laid back, cool, calm, collective dude, but not about that Elise. He ready to kill over Elise. Plus, you done whooped me too. You done beat me up. It's going down, man. And the whole yard knew that this particular situation was going down. One day, we're in the dorm, and you see the people come in, and they come in and they grab Big Country, put him in handcuffs, take him to security. Everybody's trying to figure out, like, man, what's going on? Man, maybe they know he got one of them things. Maybe they know he got one of those them blades, man. You know what I mean? From the Dante Show Network, man. You know, he's the blade pusher, right? Maybe he shout out to Dante. Perhaps the people heard that he got one of them things on him, man. They go in his locker, they look through his stuff, they don't find anything, but they pack his stuff up. They put him in, you know, all his belongings and properties or what have you in a black trash bag. That's how they pack you up in prison. Next thing you know, they grab Elise, pack Elise up, do the same thing. They go and get Big Country, pack him up, take him to security. So all three of these individuals are locked up. They send them to the hole. In prison, you don't even have to be convicted of anything. If they just suspect you of doing certain things, they can just throw you in the hole until further notice. No, you're not in trouble. You haven't received any disciplinary actions, but for your safety and while the investigation is going on, you go to the hole. So all three of these individuals in the hole. And at this point, internal affairs has gotten involved. They know everything that's going on. They know that it's a I don't necessarily want to call it a three-way love thing going on, because Elise didn't want Country anymore. But however you put it, all of that's illegal in prison. You can't just be involved with the same sex in your prison. You know, it's a serious write-up. Although it does go down quite often, it's not supposed to happen. But there's a lot of things in prison that happens. You're not supposed to gamble in prison. You're not supposed to smoke in prison at this point. You're not supposed to use drugs. You're not supposed to do a lot of things in prison. But guess what? It goes down. So they keep them all in the hole for, I know, a good week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Elise gets transferred out of here, sent to a whole different prison. Big Fred ends up getting transferred, sent him to a whole different prison. Big Country is let out of the hole. They let Big Country out of the hole. So everybody's wondering, like, man, what's going on? Why they let Big Country out of the hole, but they shipped the other two? It wasn't one of those things to where Big Country told. Now, we don't know if Big Country told or not, but I don't think it was one of those things to where he told. For one, he was very, very useful on the yard, like I said. Anything that needed to be done, he could do. They'd rather have Big Country there, because if they didn't have anyone like Big Country, guess what? Now they got to bring somebody in and pay them, $40, $50 an hour, however much they charge to do certain jobs, to run that backhoe, to fix this wiring, to fix the boiler, or anything. Big Country was that guy, so they let him out of the hole. But it was a sad situation for him, because Elise was gone. And Elise was the love of his life. And you could really see and really tell that he was affected by that. Now, I don't know, where they sent Elise. I ended up seeing Big Fred. I probably seen Big Fred about a month ago. I didn't even recognize him. I was at the store and I heard somebody say my name. I looked around, but I ain't see anybody. Then I looked in the car. Oh, Big Fred, man, what's going on with you, man? Had his fiance in the car with him or whatever, and now I don't know if she knows about his dealings while he was in. I strongly doubt that she does, but it's not my business to say anything. I don't, I spoke to him or whatever. We talked for a couple minutes, and I kept it moving. Prison's dangerous, man. I often talk about the cardinal sins in prison, man. Gambling, loaning people things, situation that I just told you about, Big Fred and Big Country becoming involved with the same sex in prison, because that's somebody's significant other, if you will. Even though Elise was done with Big Country was not done with Elise. So in his mind and his head, this is still my significant other. It's my wife right here. cardinal sin in prison, man. Stay out of prison, man. If you don't want to run into a big Fred or a big country, you definitely want to stay out of prison. Now, Big Fred wasn't more of a, like I said, he was kind of undercover with his. Big Country, I guess you could kind of call him a booty bandit. If you really want to break it down, he was a booty bandit. He just wasn't one of those booty bandits that was just going to come and just forcefully take it from you. He had money. When you got money in prison, it's kind of like having money out on the streets because, and I know it sounds weird, but food is money in prison. It equates to money. So the type of money that he was making, if you make $400 or $500 in prison, you penitentiary rich. Anything that you want, anything that you desire, you can get. So what he would do is when he found individuals like Elise, he just wine and dine them. See what I'm saying? What you need, man. And especially if they didn't have anybody looking out for them on the streets, man, you ain't got to worry about nothing, man. I got you. What you need, man. Make a store list and whatever you want, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get it for you. Whatever, it doesn't even matter. I'm going to protect you. You ain't got to worry about nothing, man. Any one of these clowns bother you, man, I'm going to handle that. Don't worry about nothing. I got this. Just allow me to be there for you. Allow me to lead you. Sounds sick, but guess what? That's just what it is. So, the whole thing with the booty bandits, because I used to think in my mind, well, I would think in my mind, if I was forced to think about this in my mind, a booty bandit just seems like somebody that just looks scary. That'll just come up to you and, sit down. You know what I'm saying? Lay down. Turn around. No, it ain't like that, man. It's not like that. And dudes be smooth with it, man. Crazy things that you see in prison, man. Crazy things you see in prison. Not sure if Country's out to this day. I'm quite sure that he is, but a lot of times people, they get out and then they come back or whatever. I don't know if Country's out. I don't even know how much time Country even had. If I knew his real name, I'd look him up. Real Kens TV, man. Hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. Anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive.